What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Young, Black, and Vegan. I am your host, Keith Terrell. So as you can see, different setup today. You guys been hitting me in the comments and we're bringing to you something that you asked for. We're gonna be in the kitchen. I'm not a chef, but who better to have here than a chef that's about to show us how to make something at home. So welcome to the episode, Chef Kyle. Chef Kyle, man, how you doing, bro?
How you doing, family? How you doing?
Man, I'm good.
Thank you for having me. It's fun to get up in here and get something going.
So tell me about yourself. Where are you from, man? Are you classically trained as a chef? You just been in the kitchen whipping it like stir fry on your own?
From Long Beach originally. I feel like I was classically trained because my mom is like a quasi-professional. She used to cater back when I was younger.
Okay.
But I just worked my way up the rankings from a little grunt prep chef in the kitchen, and then just worked my way up in restaurants, doing different events. I started off though doing donation-based pop-ups in Long Beach because I wanted to create plant-based experiences for people to actually access and try without being so apprehensive all the time. Like, oh, I can't afford it, or what comes with it. People thought it was too expensive, so I actually just got out there, like didn't have a permit or anything, and yeah, I'll just get out there in the local market, as close to the hood as possible. Farmers market's not really in the hood, so
right. Food desert. So yeah. Man, I was checking out your page. The food looks amazing.
Thank you.
I appreciate you stepping in on the show and helping us prepare something. What we making today?
So we're gonna do my rendition of garlic noodles, of course, supercharged with some good veggies. So we'll do roasted cauliflower. I was gonna do a scallop oyster mushroom, but they just didn't have it, so I had to call it audible. So it is still an oyster mushroom variety, but it won't be the like little scallop medallions. Swiss chard, and then a bunch of different flavorings. The most lengthy process is the roasted garlic, and that probably takes about 45 minutes. Then everything else is just a matter of saucing it up once it's in the skillet. So the sauce is just tamari. I always use a gluten-free organic soy sauce. It just flavors better to me. It's toasted sesame oil and coconut aminos. And I use Bucatini noodles. It's a thick, like pasta noodle that's hollow in the middle. And then yeah, it's pretty simple from there. So maybe whole time is about 45 minutes.
Okay, bet. And so you got most of these from like Whole Foods. Can you substitute any of this stuff? If you can you find this like at your local supermarket?
Oyster mushrooms are getting popular, but they are kind of only at farmers markets and Whole Foods right now. But if you like mushrooms, you can do any mushroom you want to. But oyster mushrooms are really good because they got like a meaty texture. They don't have that sliminess that people are used to. So I would suggest always try to go to a local market, or if you are open to trying different mushrooms, you can try with regular mushrooms and just work your way up once you find some.
For sure, man. Well, I'm ready to see the magic get made and try some of this food. Now you already have the garlic going on, just so they know, like you kind of break down the process of what they need to do to get that.
So I would suggest food process it, which is just a apparatus that can help you mince it pretty fast. You can hand mince it if you're not making it for a lot of people, but this, I did 2 bags, which probably works out to about 6 cloves, because I always like a little extra garlic oil and because you could just add this garlic into different things after you make it.
So what all is in the pot? So obviously we got the minced garlic.
Just minced garlic and olive oil. On low heat, as low as it could go, and then just stir it around occasionally until it's like a golden brown / like a little soft texture.
All right, bet. So about to make your version of some garlic noodles.
Yep.
I'm gonna let you do your thing. Walk us through the steps of how we'll prepare this at home.
Cool. So as a professional, I always suggest start with the most time-consuming things first. So that would be the garlic, like I said, about 45 minutes on there, and getting your boiled water rolling. So anytime you cook and start that, so just so you're not like you get all this stuff ready, then you gotta wait for the water to boil.
Okay.
Just a good little pro tip. If you aren't comfortable at cooking, or if you're new to cooking, or just a regular cook, go with the directions on the package.
Okay.
Me, I always just put a lot of water, as much as I can in the pot without it boiling over once it starts boiling, just because noodles, they do get kind of like, it's flour. So as you boil them, the flour, like it could turn into like a gelatinous substance if it's not enough water.
Okay.
So I would just suggest like submerge your noodles in water if you can. Use a bigger pot. Don't use like a little baby pot, because that won't be enough. Sometimes people do that, and that's when it will turn into like what I'm saying, like a gel, and then your noodles are like, they just disintegrate more than anything.
Got our black and yellow oyster mushrooms, and it's about to go down. I'm telling y'all.
Yep. So I've been cutting them into medallions just to try it out, because the King Trumpet ones are like, they have the bloom on top, but they have a longer stem. You could cut them into little scallops. So even if you don't want to make it like this for this dish, if you find those mushrooms, just play around with it. It's something fun to do. So you could sear it just like a scallop, sear it on both sides, and it still had like that meaty texture. So for these, we're just gonna chop them up. We get a few medallions out, but like I said, the stem isn't too long on these, so We'll get a few medallions out, and then the rest we'll just saute up. Like, I actually probably cut these big blooms into slivers, just so it's more of a good experience. Instead of, I don't know, do you like mushrooms?
Man, I love mushrooms.
You love them?
Yeah.
Did you love them before you went plant-based?
I didn't eat a lot of them before I
Okay.
went plant-based, but definitely since I've been vegan, it's a staple in the diet.
Yeah,
It's a lot that you can do with mushrooms, man.
And I never knew. I was like that too. Like, I liked mushrooms, but I never tried an oyster mushroom before I was vegan.
Basically, most of the stuff that I eat now, I had no idea about when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I never ate vegetables as a kid.
Yeah,
It was
like jackfruit. I never heard
jackfruit.
of jackfruit.
Yeah. None of that stuff. I'm working on getting in the kitchen more, so it actually gives me ideas of stuff to make too, because at the end of the day, like, it has to taste good, otherwise you're not really finna be eating it.
Yeah, because we used to that flavored up food, so.
Yeah.
And that's what most people think. Like, once I went vegan, people were like, oh, what are you gonna eat? Like, it's rabbit food, it's this, it's that, it's flavorless. I know people that thought organic meant void of sugar, void of salt, void of every flavor that was possible. Like, no, organic just means how it's processed and grown.
Man, there's so much good food out there that's plant-based.
Man, too much now. It's like, now if you're vegan, it's pretty much, it's a cakewalk, but.
Right. Like, depending on where you are.
Yeah,
Here, Los
true,
Angeles,
true. It's a
Atlanta,
bubble here.
New York, for sure. So I
Yeah.
started vegan here, so it's pretty much an easy transition for
Yeah.
me. And like, that was actually one of my biggest fears when I moved to Georgia. It was like, yo, what I'm gonna eat? But they actually have like a huge vegan community there, so I've been straight.
Yeah, I've peeped from afar, of course, since I'm in California. But when I started, I think Slutty Vegan wasn't even around yet.
Yeah.
But then I seen like how people were taking into that. You know, that's processed food, but it's still plant-based. It's still opening up people's mind to it.
Yeah.
And then even
And-
from there, like Tasali's Raw. You ever had that?
Yeah, Tassili's. So when I
Tassili.
first moved to Atlanta, Slutty Vegan, I think they had just started with the food truck,
Gotcha, yeah.
and I was staying by Tassili's, so I was eating Tassili's like every week.
Yeah, I got to get one of those wraps.
Yeah. So they probably got like a few thousand from me
For
for kale.
Yeah, that's how I am too. When I find a spot that I like, I just overdo it, especially from somewhere like I was saying, I was in Inglewood.
Yeah.
Stuff I eat is the only place I could go to for a good, high quality vegan meal. So
Right.
they've been taking all my paychecks lately.
Yeah, and then being in Atlanta as well, most of the food that's offered for vegans is comfort food.
Gotcha,
So
yeah,
Tassili's
yeah,
is
yeah.
one of the rare places you could go and get like
High vibe
and that's
food.
like straight raw,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
great. And then there's a spot like literally up the street called Healthful Essence.
Gotcha.
And it's like Jamaican vegan food. So I did
Okay.
an episode there.
I'm gonna try
So yeah,
that.
man, I try to balance it, get some of the
Yeah.
healthy options in there, as well as I'll still do some comfort food. But you know what I mean, my biggest thing is I think about how much time it takes to burn calories in the gym.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
prevents me from either eating
From too
super
much,
crazy
yeah.
or I try to balance it and do it like on a leg day or
Gotcha.
you know what I'm saying, just every now and
Yeah,
then.
yeah, that makes sense. Because I always tell people it's moderation is the main goal in all of
Right,
this.
right.
Don't worry about being super raw vegan if that's not in your scope of what you can do at the moment. Just like moderate the process stuff though as much as you
Right,
can. Like
right.
just be on that journey of like lessening up the process.
The funny thing is, like, it's typically when you talk about a vegan diet, that's when people try to get super strict on,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and it's
exactly.
like, yo, you eating
Thank
this
you.
and that. Like, at the end of the day, you just hopefully just pay attention to what the food you're eating does to your body, and you
How you
adjust
feel.
there. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
don't look at it as like a binary, right or wrong,
Exactly, me
better or
too.
worse. Like, you don't have to be vegan, but here's some healthy alternatives that still taste good. That, you know what I'm saying, try to get into your diet as much as
Exactly,
possible.
exactly. Like you're saying, just like fresher items. Because I always tell people that too, because they're like, "Oh, I gotta go vegan. I gotta learn how to do this. I gotta do that. I gotta buy all this." I'm like, "Nah, just
Right.
start." You know what I mean? Just one day, don't eat lunch with meat. You know what I mean? And, like,
Right.
see how you feel. Go from there. Instead of like you saying, like, don't try to make it up Mount Everest at one time. Like it's gonna look
Yeah.
overwhelming.
Yeah, and it's really not that crazy. Like, pretty much when it comes to like even stuff like mushrooms, season it the way you would season
Exactly.
actual meat.
Exactly.
So hopefully you're already getting some type of salad or vegetable in your system. So it's really just what do you have to omit, not so much like what do you have to learn over.
Yeah. And it's like that. And I always tell people to look at it as a treat day instead of a cheat day, even if you do go outside of your clean diet. Like,
Yeah.
cut out the negative reinforcement because then now you feel like you're punishing yourself when you eat healthy.
Right.
If you're calling it a cheat day. Like, no, just call it a treat day. Give yourself a day where you can eat processes you want to, chili cheese fries, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so much vegan stuff
Right.
that you can
I
still
like
eat.
that. A treat day.
Instead
I just
of a
do
cheat day.
I do treat meals. I try not to make
Yeah.
it a whole day. 'Cause
Yeah,
you could,
yeah.
you could also like just throw everything out the window that you did for that week if you go crazy. Like, oh, this is my cheat day. I'm finna eat this, this, and this.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, so
Moderation.
Moderation. That's the key to all this. Don't worry about being a super vegan from day one. I'm gonna pan saute these. If I was just doing the medallions, I would do these like all like in one single layer, do them just so I can get that sear. We're just gonna, like I said, pan saute these and just get a nice color on them. And then put them to the side, add them to the noodles later. And even with the cauliflower, I'm actually gonna get that in the oven now because I forgot I'm gonna roast this.
Okay.
And that only takes like 20, 30 minutes.
Bet.
With a convection oven, if you don't have a convection oven, maybe 40 minutes on like 400 to 450. But now, so when I say 450, some people have been mad at me because they burnt stuff.
Yeah.
So your oven is not my oven. All ovens are different. They're calibrated different.
Right.
So start with 400 or something. Don't be in a rush. Give it some time. Look at it every 20 minutes or so, or every 10 minutes. Cause yeah, I've had a couple people get mad like that temperature was too high. Like, well, I'm a professional.
Right.
This is like,
and that's the thing. Like everything that you're getting on the show is very generalized.
Yeah.
So it's just like your body. You have to pay attention to what you have, the tools that you have, and just adjust accordingly. Like, it's not rocket science, but you still got to put in a little bit of effort. But it's your health, so why wouldn't you?
Exactly. So like I was saying, we'll roast these. If you have a convection oven, use it. Convection is just like a bigger air fryer. Air fryer is just a small convection oven because it's circulating the hot air.
Right.
So you get more of like an even crisp on your veggies. Convection is super good for vegetables. That's why I'm like going over that length, because you'll get that char, you'll get that texture that you like from different like meats that's grilled, or you'll get that crisp to it, you'll get that softness in there, and like it's a consistent thing instead of just like burnt at the bottom.
Right.
Because that's what happens a lot of time when you roast veggies. So Swiss chard is a leafy green. It's a delicate leafy green. So like most of us are, well, a lot of people are familiar with collard greens. Collard greens, those are like more of a firm green. This is like close to spinach, but it's actually nutrient dense. I was taught by Sabi, not directly, but I learned most of what I came across from Sabi. So he doesn't like spinach, and this is something that he will always praise in his like textual teachings. So I started using this a lot, and it's really good. You could juice with it. They call it rainbow chard or Swiss chard. But yeah, it's a thin leaf, so it melts into the dish instead of like sticking out like a firm texture. So it like blends into the noodles.
Bad. So make sure you pick up your Swiss chard. Now, is this something that's interchangeable with other vegetables as well? So if they don't have Swiss chard, what else can they substitute?
So you could use kale if you wanted to. Kale's a little more firm, like I was saying though. So you may just need to cook that on its own. I can just add this straight into the noodles as soon as I'm sauteing them. Okay. Because it's so soft.
I'm gonna let you do your thing, and man, we're gonna come back with some plates and do a taste test.
Yes, sir. So yeah, just got some baking sheet lined with some parchment paper. I bake most of my veggies with parchment paper. I know a lot of people use foil, but parchment paper is perfect. It don't burn. Most people aren't used to putting the paper in the oven that don't burn, so they won't use it. But parchment paper is made for baking. So if you're roasting veggies, I suggest use parchment paper. More inexpensive too, and it makes a better roast product. Throw this in the oven. Like I said, it's convecting, so probably about 20 minutes. Then we're gonna add this into the noodles too. Tips for the kitchen, I would suggest just get in there and cook as much as you can. A lot of people worry about like being great at cooking to start. And I think to become a good cook, you gotta get comfortable making mistakes just to gain your confidence. So get in there, oversalt some things, burn something, destroy something to where you got to throw it away. All that's going to help you gain your understanding, like, all right, the flame was too high that time, let me turn that down. All right, so next we're going to take these mushrooms over and saute them. I already got the pan heated up. I like to put the heat on my pan first for like a minute and a half, and then put my oil in. You get a better sear like that.
And what kind of oil are we using today?
I'm using olive oil. Some people tell you don't cook with olive oil. I'm not one of those. You can't use avocado oil. It's just, if you're not good with olive oil, it'll burn fast. And it absorbs into the food a lot. So you'll end up using a lot more if you don't know what you're doing. So that's almost soft. As soon as I put it in there, it's probably gonna sizzle because the pan been on for so long. See what I'm saying? So, cool. And with these, like I like a little chard on there, so I leave them for about a minute, mix them around, same thing. Like it's not like some people think you gotta constantly be over here stirring stuff up.
Right.
You don't really have to. With vegetables especially, you wanna allow some of that texture to come out through different cooking methods. Like you want a little caramelization, you want a little burn, you want all that because it makes for a better mouthfeel. Pause. But I think that's like the technical term for it.
Right.
But it's just overall a good textural experience. Can you have those noodles?
For sure, for sure. We got the Bucatini noodles.
Yeah. It's a real good noodle, honestly. It's like a good switch up from spaghetti.
Right.
Super big noodle, but you don't need as much because it's so huge.
So let me ask you this while the food is cooking. What would you say are like 5 staples people should have in their kitchen if they're looking to transition to a vegan diet?
So I would go with always, like I'm saying, get familiar with mushrooms, all the varieties. Don't like, because even with lion's mane is a good one people are becoming familiar with.
Right, which is good for the brain too.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could even get it just as a tincture or something if you just want to try that. But yeah, get familiar with mushrooms and then your seasoning. So smoked paprika, good to add the flavor that you're used to from the different cooked meats and all that. Cumin, I use cumin as a baseline seasoning a lot, so it may not overpower. It may not be like a cumin spiced whatever, but it's in there because it has like that meaty flavor into it. It's hard to explain, but like I said, it's like an orchestra to me. Oh, and then the vinegars. So getting familiar with the vinegar. So there's rice vinegar, there's apple cider vinegar, but vinegar is an enhancer. And so instead of always using salt in different places to enhance the flavor, and citrus is an enhancer too. So vinegar, acids are enhancers, period.
Right.
So same place where you could use like a squeeze of lemon, you could put a dash of, you could put a little, like a little teaspoon of vinegar. Apple cider vinegar I use a lot because it has a little sweetness to it. And it's not just like straight acid. So vinegars are good. And then produce too, I think cauliflower is super good if you roast it and just add it, because most people are used to steaming vegetables or like boiling trash like that. But if you like roast cauliflower with cumin, paprika, and I said also a good sweetener like maple. Keep something like maple around because you can add that in the salad dressings. Like say if you make a vinaigrette, it's a little too tangy, just add a little bit of maple in there. It'll tie all those other flavors together. A quick recipe I would suggest: get some cauliflower just like we processed it here today.
Right. Add
a tablespoon of cumin, 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika, and maybe like a capful or 2 of maple syrup, a little bit of sea salt. Throw that in the oven for about 40 minutes at 400 to 420. Super good. You can
depending
eat that
on your depending on your oven.
Depending on your oven,
right,
for sure.
That's what's up, man. Well, yo, it's smelling good in here, so I'm looking forward to jumping into this.
It's almost time to eat. That's been the most rewarding part about my journey for me, is like making something for somebody that they were apprehensive to eat prior to, and then they had it like, oh wow, I could eat it if it's like this. Yeah. They always say if I make it, like if you cook for me, I could go vegan, but I understand that what they're really saying is like, you know what I mean, I can eat this instead of like, I'm not like, yeah, I cooked it. You know what I mean? Like, so all credit due to just the produce. Really, like getting local and fresh produce is like a good part of this too, because it tastes better than what you get conventionally at a supermarket. You like the cauliflower is more mushy there. It's like when you roast it, it turns into mush ASAP. Like getting those good high quality ingredients is like a good part of like why food tastes better.
Right, and you know, people, a thing we hear, I'm sure you hear a lot, is it's expensive to go vegan. Something like this right here, pretty simple ingredients, might have cost like what to make?
This amount right here, we could probably feed 4 to 6 people. And if you, at some point you'll accumulate all your soy sauces, like I got a sesame oil. So if you don't have to buy all that at one time, this will be like $50 a feed. 4 to 6 people.
4 to 6
high
people.
quality. Everything is organic. It's possible. And I say it's possible because like certain things can't, like the noodles weren't organic, but high quality, only wheat, and it's only one ingredient.
Okay.
So about $50.
Yeah, and if you go out on a date, that's like, you know,
Yeah, you
for
won.
for two people, you know.
You won if you get out on a date for $50.
That's what's
So
up.
learn how to cook. If you cook at home instead of going out, it's much more impactful too.
Yeah.
People love that you cook for them more than like anybody could pay for a dinner out.
Right.
But not everybody can take that time and cook.
Hey, if you can cook and it tastes good,
Yeah.
jump in that kitchen.
Yep. So
But
just
yeah,
utilize.
so don't cook for them on the first date. 'Cause
Nah.
you don't know people crazy, so you know what I'm saying. Take them on a date first and make
That's
sure
good
that
advice.
they're good.
That's what I always tell. Like women always like, when you don't cook for me, I'm like, love, never. Not right
He
there.
said
Like
never.
you gotta
Wow,
work your
wow.
way up to that. I'm not just
Yeah.
starting with that. That's like if you know how to sing, you just singing to everybody. Like
Right.
No.
I'm not gonna front. If I could sing, I would be.
I probably
singing
would
this
too.
whole
I can't
interview.
I feel the same way. High key.
So now, how do you like to make the noodles? Al dente or?
Yeah, especially so I like al dente period, because they'll always kind of like keep cooking a little bit as you go. Like they'll steam after you strain them and put them in a like a bowl or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are ready. But especially for this, because we're gonna put them back on the fire again to mix them up with everything else. So I would always suggest like 75% of the way, and then saute them, then they'll finish off.
Okay, bet.
But if you're just making like regular pasta, al dente is always good because it has that texture. So try not to overboil stuff.
All right, so about to go in for the taste test. Chef Kyle's garlic noodles, and don't worry, about to put all of the ingredients and times and everything in the description for you, but it's time to see how this go down. You ready? All right.
Yeah, I want to see you eat it. I like to see those natural reactions. Can't hide that initial face, you know what I mean? If it's nasty, it's an ugly face. Let's see if it hit the mark. It's going cool.
That's flavorful right there. That's good stuff. I'm definitely gonna be making this at the crib.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
So, we're not gonna let you just sit here and watch us eat. Jump in the kitchen, make this, we're gonna finish this, but yo, this is amazing.
Appreciate
Chef
y'all.
Kyle, make sure you follow him on social media. It's
Chef Kyle J.
Chef Kyle J. And yeah, we finna sit down and enjoy the rest of these garlic noodles. Thank you for tuning in. Another episode of Young Black and Vegan. I am Keith Terrell.
Chef Kyle. See y'all later somewhere.
Mm.